Hey everybody, Rob from RPS Tactical here. So I'm just going to go over a little bit of how we're making our leather-wrapped adaptive holsters as a request of a friend and customer. What we've done so far already is we've cut the back. The back is cut out by a press cutout that we have. And then we adhere Velcro to the back. It's a soft Velcro. Allows for some ventilation and comfort. This will get stitched. As you can see, we have put a stitching groove all the way around here and in the center because it gets sewed in the center for extra support for the Velcro. This will be then hand dyed to brown. It's going to be an aged brown, so it'll be a mixture of light and dark. Then what we're going to do is do the stitching. The stitching color on this one is going to be white. So there's the back that's already done. And then we cut out a wing also. This is our adaptive wing, which just goes on the back and allows the mount to get away from the holster a little bit. It allows you to have adjusting here. So there's that. These still need to have our logos pressed into them. We have done up the front. It's been cut, molded, and then we have to prep the surface because we're going to adhere the leather to this. So this is your core basically, which gives you your rigidity, last over time, and then you'll get the leather look and feel. So there's that. Here's our mold, which we have several different types, but this is this style that we ended up molding it on. So we'll set that aside. Now what we need to do is get the front leather done. We do a full grain leather. As you can see, it's not really thick, but it's got some heft to it. It's not thin where it's just going to tear up. So we need to soak this so that way we can form it around the front. So I'm going to put it in some warm water and let it soak here for a minute. And then we'll start working the leather by hand. If you used a thinner leather, then you wouldn't have to work it by hand so much. It would just kind of form around it. But the thing that I find if you use thinner leather, if you rub up against something, not really sharp, but abrasive, up against a little bit of a rough corner, then you'll tear up a fine leather that's put on it. So with this thickness leather, it's a 2-ounce leather. You get quite a bit of strength, so you could still scratch up the surface of it, and other than having a scratch, it wouldn't tear up the leather. So I'm just going to kind of work this around a little bit here. Let it have a good soak. Some of the other process that you're going to see us doing here later in the video is once this soaks, we're going to make sure we get as much water out of it as possible. And then we're going to form it around the mold. We're going to vacuum it, and then we have to let it sit and dry for a period of time. And then once we have this all dried out, we can then adhere it and work on dyeing it. So there's quite a bit of process to it. That's why our leather-wrapped holsters, are more expensive. But for the work that we're doing extra, we really don't charge much compared to all the work that's in it. So the key to it really is working the leather and getting it extremely pliable. It seems like it's pliable, but when you're trying to go around all these corners, we got to make sure that we have a nice tight fit. And then sometimes, depending on the holster, sometimes we have to actually work this on a piece of wood. Alright, so let's try to wring this out and see if we can't get a little bit of a forming going on. So here you have your wet piece. We're going to lay it over the gun and make sure that we have an adequate amount of coverage on the edges that we'll trim off later. So what we're going to do is grab a few tools to work it. Some of them are just really works well, some of the tool handles, and then we got a boner here that just a boning tool that allows you to get into the edges a little bit better, and then actually on the final product will allow us to leave some of the shape of the gun, because when you're doing the leather, it doesn't always allow for that. So when we're doing this, we want to try to keep our tools and hands as clean as possible. Just work that around the end. So it don't look like much right there, but we're going to move that over to the press. So I'm just preparing the press over here, and we'll spin it for you guys to see. So we're moving this over here to the press. And sometimes this takes a few attempts before we really get it how we want it, especially around the muzzle area. There'll be a little bit of noise here from the press. But we're going to get that to suck down, and we're going to work the leather. So I can see right here what we're having a little bit of a problem is a pocket that's forming here of air. That's locking it in. So I'll let that just sit for a minute, and then I'll go back in, open up the press, we'll go back in and form this piece. But so far we're getting some good forming, some good definition. So we'll come back to the next process.